Whatever your past is, whether you're a victim and you're struggling, come now is the call. You will need professional help. You will need spiritual support. You will need accountability partners. We name you and then we shame you. I grew up in the church. You grew up in the church. You know whatever denomination you're coming from. We are going to take an action because this person has committed fornication or adultery. We are going to name them and shame them. And we are doing it so that they will protect the image of the church. You know what naming and shaming does? It enforces the negative behavior. Doing things that they believe it is right. But guess what? They are freaks in bed. You know they are freak in bed, yeah? They're the freak one in bed. You know that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just be honest. Even you, if you're the moral police in church and you're making a whole lot of noise, we know you. We know where we meet. We know what we talk. We know the messages. We see the nudes. Hello, family. Thank you for sticking with us all this while. We appreciate you. This season is going to be a season that we are not only going to scratch the surface. This season, we are going to go deep. This season, we are going to address issues that a lot of people are shying away from. So, come with me to church. And guess what are we going to talk about? Sanctified silence. I want you to journey with me and let us talk about, let's stir up this conversation. Let it ripple through so that people will get to see, will get to know, will get to understand. And those who have been in a rut will come out of it stronger and better because you are with us. Sex in the Temple. So today, come with me to church. What is sanctified silence? Growing up, the church is a place that you think this should be the safest place for me. This is going to be the most secured place for me because in this place I am protected. In this place I am taken care of. But is it really true? We have a mandate as a church, and that is to live like Christ, to preach the truth, but not only to do that, but to also provide a place of safety and security. But strangely so, the church is not taking a lead in having this conversation on how intricately connected sexuality is with spirituality. And the world is trumpeting its views, and they could care less whether you believe or not. They're using everything they can to talk about it. The church is silent. This view is eroding our faith, the faith that we hold so dear. This view is not only that, it's taking our young people away and is sucking them in. And yet the church refuses to talk about sexuality and spirituality. So we're going to start a conversation that we expect and we hope to ripple through. When the world is talking about sexuality, the church is just issuing our statement. You see, the strange thing about the church is that we are very loud on talking about our stand on abortion. We talk about it, we push it. But when it comes to sexuality, we have a disjointed, we are not unified in where we stand and what we do. And then I can hear you say, so what's the problem? The problem is this: we are called to share the truth in love, and we are called to speak out the truth, and not only speak, but live the truth. But the challenge I see growing up, why maybe the church is not talking about sexuality and spirituality, it's because of the way we talk about it. We have this judgmental and condescending attitude when we talk about sexuality, as if it is the devil who gives sex as a gift to mankind. But no, let me remind you, in case you have forgotten, that sex is a gift from God given to married couples within the confine of marriage to enjoy their intimacy. But when we talk about it, we sound so judgmental that it makes it appear evil. It makes it appear as if it's not something that is loving. You and I know, if you are honest with yourself, that sex is pleasurable. Not only pleasurable, it calms people down. And you and I also know that the fact is that whether you have sexual intimacy within the confines of marriage or even outside the confines of marriage, the pleasure is not taken away. That's how it is. So if you say that, oh, you do this and this will happen, you and I can prove that the pleasure is not taken away. Okay? We believe that people will listen if we talk about sexuality and spirituality in a manner that is non-judgmental. We should not let the few people who are angry and upset, who share their views opposite to us, make us silent. So we should talk about it in love so that people who are hurting, people who are confused will get clarity. The other thing is that it is one thing to talk about sex. It's another thing altogether to live what we preach. And I think as a church, this is where we have our challenge. We preach about it, we make noise about it, but yet our private lives are not in conformity to what we preach. So now how can you go and preach against or talk about something or take a lead to talk about something that you yourself, you're guilty of? And I think these are some of the reasons that why the church is silent about sexuality and intimacy. If we want people to listen to us, to be honest, we have to be committed to what we preach and live it. And when we do, people will get to understand, people will get to know that they are not only preaching, they're also living it. So one of the reasons that I believe that people are not talking about is the church. I'm not talking about a particular denomination. I'm looking at the whole church, the body of Christ, where we are not talking about it. Okay? And because of the way we live. Infidelity is another issue where we're not talking about it. Sexual promiscuity is so high in the churches, from pastors, from leaders, from the least members, young people, older people, teens, and even minors. You know, you are aware of a relationship that is going on between one married partner to another, and they all live in the church. And because of this high infidelity, how then is the church going to take a lead to talk about sexuality and intimacy? We will not take a lead because we ourselves are not practicing it, okay? And then you talk about, will the world take me seriously? No, they will not take you seriously. They will not take us seriously. We will become more like clowns. We are like a joke to the world when we stand on the pulpit and then we preach. We preach and we sweat and we make noise and we throw tantrums. But the world knows. They know that we meet at hotels, we meet at Airbnb. That young lady in the church, that young guy in the church knows that you've taken advantage of them. So how can the church take a lead in talking about sexuality and spirituality? It doesn't make a difference, does it? We are meant to be different. We are meant to be the light. But are we the light? That's another question. So take me to church, sacred silence. Why do we have the sacred silence? Because we have this church police, these moral police officers in church who they think they now share an equal position with Jesus, who are going about doing things that they believe it is right. But guess what? They are freaks in bed. You know they are freak in bed, yeah? They're the freak one in bed. You know that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just be honest. Even you, if you're the moral police in church and you're making a whole lot of noise, we know you. We know where we meet. We know what we talk. We know the messages. We see the nudes. So how can then the church talk about this? Another thing is that the church is guilty of, that is not talking about sexuality, is because of the abuse that they are covering up. We have covered up abuse in the church for years. And this is so heartbroken. This is so sad. It saddens me to come to an understanding that as a whole institution, a vessel chosen to offer peace and protection for young people is taking advantage of the young people. We have sexual perpetrators. We have these ones in our church, but because they are influential, because they have money, because they're the movers and shakers. They take advantage of young people. They sexually abuse them. They leave them empty, broken, messed up. We know it is wrong. We know it is traumatizing. But what do we do as a church? We say to ourselves, for the image and protection of the church, the victim is left to deal with his or her broken pieces. The family is isolated. And sometimes we don't even believe them. We call their names, we tag them. We don't believe them because we think that the perpetrator is so influential to be lost, and so the victim should suffer the consequence. So we cover up sexual abuse. We are very good at covering up sexual abuse in the church, and yet we pretend to be the vessel of God. We are supposed to be the lights. We are supposed to be the example. Are we the examples? No. So now this victim is left to deal with the trauma, the emptiness, the brokenness, the self-esteem is gone. They are left to deal with the pieces. The family is isolated. And then what do they do with the perpetrator? They take the perpetrator, move the perpetrator to somewhere else, and they continue abusing people. So as a church, we should stop covering up sexual abuse. If we want to take the lead in talking about sexuality and the spirituality, we should stop covering up abuse. Let the abuse victim come and be bold and courageous enough to come to church and talk about what has happened to them. Let us have the space that we create that is so peaceful, that is so open, that is non-judgmental, that when these people come, we find peace, they find healing. And another thing is that even as we cover up sexual abuses in church, what we do also, we try to offer a one-style, fit-it-out solution, straitjacket solution. No. For each abuser, they suffer different thing and they take it differently. So you cannot use a straitjacket when the pastor thinks he's a counselor when he has not even done counseling, a course in counseling, but yet they take up this counseling and they go on telling you this is how it should be done. Because they are not professional. They are spiritual leaders. They are not counselors. Some I know they are trained. But pastor, leader out there, if you know you are not a counselor professionally, don't take on this challenge because you're just going to mess things up. Why is the church not talking about sexuality and spirituality? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked because what are the structures that we have as a church that we have put in place? We don't have any. We don't. I'm yet to know, maybe in other parts of the world, maybe they have them. But what are the structures that are providing a safe space, security? Another thing that we have is the problem of, everybody knows about this now. Confidentiality is a huge problem in our church when we're dealing with this. Lives have been destroyed. Families are torn apart. And they are left to pick up the pieces. And yet the church, we go and sing, we are marching to Zion as a united front. Marching to what? Zion? When you're covering up sexual abuse, when you're taking advantage of the vulnerable, when you're not providing a safe space, when you yourself, your life, your private life is not in line with what you preach, you march into nowhere. God is calling us to a place where we talk about this thing, address it. Practical Christianity is what we're looking for. It's enough of the talking. You've talked to us, we've heard you, we've listened to you. Now we want to see action. Make Christianity practical. Let us see the Jesus. Let us believe it. Let us experience the Jesus. We need to speak out on behalf of abused people. We need to. Let me remind you something just in case you forget. We deal harshly with people who we have advantage over way more than the way God deals with us. You know your story. I know my story. That some of the mess we have created, God cushions us. It's not because he approves of what we have done, but in his mercy, he cushions us. Why can't we do the same? Why can't we provide a safe space for people? So stop the labeling. Stop the stigmatization. Women's ministry, the women's wing, the ladies' wing, the men's wing. We talk about people. Do you really actually understand when someone has been so abused, left traumatized, trafficked as a young girl, taken advantage of in the church, groomed to be the side chick for the elder, for the leader, for the pastor, and for whoever it is, for this married man? They are left traumatized. They're broken. They are messed up. They don't even know the purpose of their existence. And then we start talking about them. We start labeling them and giving them tags among our community. Do you know how painful that is? Do you really understand how difficult it is for them to dress up and to show up? And anytime they come, you give them a tag? If it was you, would you love that to be done to you? I don't think so. So be careful. And then, when we try as much as we can to even address those issues superficially, this is what we do. We name you and then we shame you. I grew up in the church. You grew up in the church. You know whatever denomination you're coming from. We are going to take an action because this person has committed fornication or adultery. We are going to name them and shame them. And we are doing it so that they will protect the image of the church. You know what naming and shaming does? It enforces the negative behavior. Because the naming thing we are doing, we are thinking that if I shame him enough, he's going to stop doing that. She's going to stop doing that. But that's not the reality. We need to adopt a better method of dealing with sexual sin in the church other than the naming and shaming. If we're honest to ourselves, the churches that censor people, the churches that vote and say you're no longer a member of the church, has the sexual sin stopped in your church since you've been voting people away from your church? Has it changed the morality compass, in your church? Has it changed the way people talk about sexuality or the way they behave? It has not changed, because it's just going to give them what? And enforces the negative behavior. They want the sinner to feel guilty. And this shaming should motivate the sinner. It doesn't. It normalizes the behavior. So shame is this painful feeling, this painful experience, or this painful belief that you are flawed, that you are challenged, that you are worth nothing. It makes you feel like you're unworthy of connection, you're unworthy of anything good. And they want to put you in this place that you feel it. And when you feel it, more likely they will say that behavior will change. Shame? Shame is another thing that we have been using for years. And we're hoping that, okay, this will bring a lasting change. As it bring a lasting change, like I said, no. We need to put an end to the tool of shame, the tool of naming and shaming in the church. Because if we do put away that tool and come from a place of addressing the sin and then provide a space, a healing, and a comfortable place to recover, it will help. Shame makes you feel condemned. If you're honest with yourself, when you commit fornication the first time, the spirit is walking and you say it's bad. Oh, somebody caught me. Okay, it's a shame. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to do it. You're going to be more careful now. So it brings you to this place. Because we are condemned already, you say, okay, there's nothing good that is expected of me. I'm going to do it anyway. Who cares? It doesn't help to change the behavior. It doesn't help to change the behavior. It just continues to make you cover up your mess. And the more you cover up, the more you suck into it. Remember, we are talking about how can we address sexuality and spirituality in a manner that is blissful, in a manner that is educative, in a manner that is restorative. We keep repeating the same mistake because there's naming and shaming. We need to respond to guilt in a better way. We need to change. We need to come to a place of having this deeper understanding. God restores the broken. You know, there's something that Jesus never kept quiet about. I don't know if you read it in the Bible. Jesus presented a child and said, if any of you take advantage of this vulnerable child, it is better for you to have a millstone tied to your neck and then thrown into the sea. That's how deep that goes to show that for Jesus, he doesn't encourage, he doesn't support when we take advantage of people. We are meant to be Jesus's disciples. We are the ambassadors of God. So if Jesus did not condone abuse, did not cover up abuse, why are we condoning it? Why are we Why are we condoning it? Why are we covering it up? Why are we allowing the perpetrators to walk free? We should hold them accountable. They should pay for what they have done. But even as they pay for what they have done, may we also seek a way of restoring them, because they are also messed up and broken, and now they have the opportunity to take advantage of people. They do. But they should know that what they have done is wrong. They should be held accountable, and we seek to restore both the perpetrator and the victim. Jesus is not saying that go and commit suicide when he said that, to have a millstone tied to your neck. He's just telling us how deep these issues affected him and how he's not going to keep quiet about it. Jesus will not leave you even when you break his trust. Jesus is reaching out his hand to you, whether you're a victim or a perpetrator. And as a church, he's reaching out to us that he has called us to do something. He's reaching out to you today. Remember Isaiah 1:18 and 19, Jesus says, come now, let us reason together. Jesus wants us to talk about this. So as a church, we should not only talk and condemn, we should leave it. Stop the naming, stop the shaming, provide a safe and comfortable place. And that's your judgmental and condescending attitude that you have when you're talking about sex. You know it is a gift of God, not from the devil. Don't make it look demonic. Yes, the devil is having taking a big advantage and distorting the views and having skewed ideas that people have about this. But no matter what, it is a gift from God. It's the only gift, one of the two that came from the Garden of Eden after the fall. It's within the confines of marriage and also the Sabbath. So to you, my friend, whatever your past is, whether you're a victim and you're struggling, come now is the call. You will need professional help. You will need spiritual support. You will need accountability partners. And as a church, own up to the guilt. Apologize. Speak the truth. Leave it. Sanctified silence. Why will intimacy turn into silence offering? It should not turn into silence offering. So today, wherever you are, as a church, as a people who profess to be followers of Christ, remember, we should not be silent. Sanctified silence, when intimacy turns into silence offering. We don't want that to turn to silence offering. I love you, and I know you will be okay. We believe in Christ. Let's live it. There's the sex in the temple. We just started. We're going to scratch it deeper. Get ready, because we're going to go deeper. Dig deeper. That's what we're doing now. Thank you, and my name is Monique.